Let's look at the easiest, that's to get a broad idea of types of categories to buy. But I think the easiest way to find things to buy is to look around the business that you've already got. So if you think you've got your core business, probably the most easy thing to buy is a competitor, right? And so the first place we look is competitors to your core business. But then find the places, and this is the one that most people don't think of, but to me it makes the most sense, is who's got the eyeballs of the people that are buying your products? Buy the media. If you buy the media, you have an unlimited supply of customers. And we'll talk specifically about the kinds of media that you might think about buying. The next would be, if you need a team, buy somebody that's already got it. If there's a resource that you need, buy somebody that's already got it. Don't worry about building it yourself. That takes a lot of time and effort. And then the next two are, look at who are you paying money to every single month. My business partner, Kent Clothier from Real Estate Worldwide, came in here yesterday and talked about how we go around and buy all kinds of companies that we would otherwise pay, and we buy companies that we send business to. And I'll talk specifically about the strategies for that a little bit later. But who is selling you stuff right now, both products and services, and who is selling your customer products and services? Those are very logical types of companies for you to buy. The next would be supply and distribution chain. So this is traditional vertical integration, where you go up to your suppliers and manufacturers, or your manufacturers' manufacturers, and then you go, or your component parts manufacturers that send the manufacturers' parts, and then you go down into the distribution chain and buy distribution, whether that's websites or retail stores, it doesn't matter. But consolidate that chain, and then you get bigger and bigger margins, because right now you've got little chunks of margin that are being made by everybody up and down that chain. Why not consolidate those so you get as much of it as possible? And then last but not least, intellectual property. So what intellectual property can you buy? Patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, customer lists, software, that kind of stuff that will add value to your business, and what kinds of those things are you using now or buying from other people? So this gives you 7 different categories of things, competitors to your core business, plus the 6 around, that you can buy as types of businesses. So I would recommend that you take a look at the sheet that I gave you, that most of you are looking at, and fill that out with the companies, either the specific companies or at least the types of companies that you might buy. Now, and we'll do an exercise on it in a minute, but I want to get you completely clear on this. So our holding company, one of our holding companies is called Idea Incubator, and we look at all of these types of things too. So for media, we were looking at our DIY Ready company. So we had DIY Ready, which does do-it-yourself products and information, and we were able to buy DIYprojects.com, which is a much more heavily searched term. So we bought the URL, and then we had built a Facebook group with about 250,000 users, and we wanted to grow that because we know that every Facebook user is worth a certain amount of money to us per month in our business. So we went out and found the Facebook group, another Facebook group in DIY, about DIY projects, and we bought it. And then we went to Facebook and said, now we own 2 of these things, will you merge these groups together for us? And they said, yeah, happy to. And so now we've got 500,000 people on that group. So that was just going out and buying a Facebook group, because it's media that has the people that we want to sell to. Then we said, okay, well, we want to build a software team, because we're going to, I mentioned earlier about multiples, we looked and said, hey, we're in the publishing business right now. We need to be in the software business because the multiple's significantly higher. Can we do that? Yes. How do we do it? We need to build some software. Do we have a software team? No. Do we know how to find a software team? No. None of us has any experience with that. So let's just buy a company that already has it. So we looked to our vendors, and we were paying monthly to a company called True Conversion for an analytics package, and we basically just reached out to everybody that we were doing that with that was software and said, we're interested in getting a software. Do you guys know anybody that might be selling or might have a team that that's too big, that they're going to let people go, that are good, or anything like that? And these guys came back and said, actually, we'd be interested in selling to you. So just reaching out like that around all of the things, all of the businesses that you're interacting with right now is the easy way to do that. So John, you were talking about having a hard time thinking of somebody. Maybe it's a mail house, right? Maybe
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe it's a restaurant. Maybe it's you buy the venue where you're doing those meetings. So like think about everybody that you're writing checks to right now. And I haven't gotten any checks from you, so you should probably send me some too, just on the side. But think about everybody that you're making payments to right now, and think about buying those companies. That's the easiest way. Yes, sir.
What's so obvious about this is this guy that we're using. He's really, really good. We've been trying to find somebody like him for years and years and years. And this is going to sound really stupid, but he said, it's getting harder and harder for me to do this because I'm trying to go into missionary work and you're asking me to do stuff in my practice, but I'm kind of winding down. And I'm going, whoa, why don't we just buy the business?
Yes.
Because he's brilliant, he's got a brilliant staff, but he doesn't want to do it anymore.
That's fantastic. Yeah, perfect opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So even when it seems like I don't know what I could buy, if you look at everybody that you're writing checks to, look at your accounts payable list and see who you're paying every month. There's probably acquisitions sitting there. Okay, so for us along that line, and speaking of mail houses, for our real estate business, we have a real estate SaaS where we help real estate investors get information to contact potential acquisitions, potential houses to buy. And as part of the program that we teach, because we also train on how to do it, we say you should send direct mail to those people. And you can get the direct mail names from our list. So we send a lot of business to mail houses, and one house in particular called Graphic Connections Group, we sent a ton of business to. And so we went to them and we made a pipe wrench offer, which I'll explain in detail a little bit later. We made a pipe wrench offer and said, we're sending you all this business. We think if you would like to have us continue to do that, you should give us a significant part of your business. And they said, okay. And so we got 20% of their business, right? So, and we do that over and over. And Kent was in here yesterday saying, that's basically what I did all last year. Like we did a meeting like this for real estate people, and Kent was sitting where Dan is, and I talked about doing these pipe wrench offers, and he said, and pipe wrench offers basically, if you're sending 10% or more of the business to another business, you're building somebody else's brand. Never build somebody else's brand. You should go to them and say, I know that you're probably worried that I'm not going to continue sending you this business. And they're like, well, I wasn't worried. So, should I be worried? I'm like, yes, you should be worried because I'm building your brand right now and love you mean it, but I'm not going to continue to do that. So I'm thinking maybe I'll go into that business myself. And then I was like, that'd be kind of crazy. I've already got you, and we have a good relationship. The customers are happy with you. Why don't you give me part of your business? And then not only will I continue to send you the business, but I'll actually be thinking about how I can build it. Right? It's very easy to get people to do that. And so I gave that talk, and all of a sudden he's over there like, and I'm like, when we took a break, I said, man, is everything okay? The family and the kids, everything okay? He's like, no. He said, it's not okay. I hadn't done this. I can't believe that I haven't thought to do this. I've been texting everybody saying, you need to give me part of your business. And so now there's over a dozen businesses that we've acquired significant interests in because of just asking. So when you're...
I told that story at lunch.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did mention is Kent said he's never received a no. And it doesn't matter anyway if he did, because he always had someone in the background.
Yeah.
I got someone else ready to take your spot if you don't want it. And by the way, this sounds like a take, like we're really ripping these people off. It's a give. Because you're going to build their business up really big.
It's win-win. It really is.
Totally. Yeah.
But what you want to be careful about, and Dan actually said, there was a business that when he was with Richard Roop doing a whole bunch of coaching, that they sent a ton of business to, and then their business kind of fell apart. Just things changed, and this other business is doing super, super well, and they could have just, if they had only asked, had a piece of it, right?
Oh yeah, piece of a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's a great strategy.
Where's the name come from? Is it you're going to turn off the pipe, or are you going to beat them over the head with the pipe?
Well,
I know, that's what I was...
You gotta wait for it.
Yeah, funny you should ask. The name comes from, actually, I'll tell you when we get to the how-tos.
You'll love it.
So anyway, people that that you are either sending business to would be one, but people that your clients are buying from, people that you are buying from. So another thing to think about is product vendors. So for us, we weren't actually buying from these people. They were not really a competitor because they sold different stuff from us, but we had a website called Survival Life. And on Survival Life, we were selling all kinds of products that we went to China and made, but we wanted to sell branded products as well that people actually knew. So we went to the dealers and said, we would like to get, we'd like to get qualified to be a dealer of your product so we can sell it. And they said, okay, what's your physical store address? And we said, well, we're an online only store. And they said, yeah, well, no, we don't do that. I'm like, why not? So no, we don't want online people competing with heavy discounts with our retail store accounts. So we only sell through retail people that have retail stores. You need to show us your retail store. So I was like, okay, well, let's go buy a retail store. So we went in Austin, since that's where our company's located, and we found, I think it was a 28-year-old company called Banana Bay Tactical that was a physical store, and we bought the store. We ended up buying it just for the price of the inventory, and then we financed the inventory over time. So we'll talk about that. It was basically a no money down deal. And then we inherited all the dealerships. We didn't even have to go apply for them. They already had them all. So again, it simplifies things, right? And then for supply and distribution, we were selling water filters, but we were not manufacturing water filters. And so we decided that we wanted to be able to actually have the manufacturing margin. So we found, this was actually a guy that Ryan Dice was in a Vistage group with. Vistage is like a business kind of group where people get together and compare numbers and stuff like that. So that's another place to look, like YPO if you're a member of Young Presidents Organization, or OPO, I think is Old Presidents Organization. It's called something better. Or EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, or one of those kinds of places. That's a great place to look as well. So there was a guy that owned a water filter manufacturing company, and of course, because they were in the Vistage group, Ryan knew all the guy's financials and everything, and the guy was having a hard time growing, and Ryan said, hey, we're actually looking to buy something like this. So we ended up meeting with him and talking and doing a deal, and so we bought, it was called, you talk about bad branding, it was called Fesco, which to me sounds like something that you should have a cream to fix, but we changed it to Rapid Filter because we did a rebrand on it, and then we sold it, and now it is called the Coleman Filter Company because it's in Coleman, Texas. Coleman, Texas, by the way, when you go to do your due diligence, we rode out to Coleman, Texas, and I didn't know where it was. And you know how you look on a map like online, and you zoom in on the place, and it's like here, and then you zoom out to see what it's near. So I zoomed out, and there was nothing. And then I zoomed out and there was nothing, and I zoomed out again and there was Abilene. And I zoomed out like 3 more times and finally got to, I think, Fort Worth or something. I was like, this place is in the middle of nowhere.
So when you said you rode there, was that on a horse?
Because we are stupid, we rented a limousine and drank all the way out there. So I would recommend you don't do that as the not professional way to do it. And then intellectual property. Intellectual property would be the other thing. So we had a website called Startup Jungle, and Startup Jungle we decided was going to be for showing people how to get into lots of blue-collar kinds of business, like how to be a truck driver, how to be a cosmetologist, that kind of stuff. But we didn't want to write the plans for that, so we looked for somebody who had already done it, and this was just a cold search online. And so we were searching for companies that had pre-packaged business plans. And we found these guys at Business Book Source who had published, I think it was 128 or 168 business plans, complete with Excel spreadsheets and the courses and everything. And interestingly enough, they had been doing $2 million a year in business for several years. And then all of a sudden, and it was an older guy and his daughter that owned it, and all of a sudden they got Google slapped and couldn't figure out how to get the money to come in that was coming in before. Like they got delisted basically. They lost their ranking on their websites, and they never could get it back, and they never could figure out how to do AdWords. And it's just funny, like they just let this $2 million business wither. And so they had these assets, and they wanted a whole bunch of money for them. They're one of the case studies. I'll show you exactly how we did it. But we ended up buying that, and then instantly we had 100 and some business plans, right? So that's just to give you some examples of reaching out around you, how to find places, how to find businesses. So DIY Projects, that was a Facebook search. We just found we searched for groups of do-it-yourselfers. The True Conversion came from somebody that we were paying money every month. The Graphic Connections group came from somebody that we were sending business to every single month. The Banana Bay, we just reached out cold. And Coleman Filter came through a connection that Ryan had through his network. And then Business Book Source, we reached out from a Google search. So all the different ways that you might think of getting these businesses, that's how we found them. Yes, sir?
How do you value things like Facebook group that are not necessarily revenue producing?
I'm going to talk about that when I talk about valuation, but it is a fantastic question. Okay, so I have a sheet for you that lists those 6 categories. I don't list competitors here, and I should probably change it from core business to competitors, but this just looks better. So I want you to go through when you have time, and we'll actually do this as an exercise in a minute, and actually write down either, and just to give you some ideas, you have the filled out one too. It might be, for media, it could be print publications, digital media, studios, it could be advertising companies. For resources, it could be affiliates, or you're buying it for a list of affiliates, a list of customers, even a list of SOPs. Like you're like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get SOPs done in my business, standard operating procedures, right? But there's a company that probably already did it that's like yours, so just go buy that, okay? Or buy that asset from them. Or maybe like us, you wanted a dev team or an operations team. It is not at all unusual to buy another company just so you can get the management, okay? Then for services, what are the services? Financial, business, mailhouse, whatever they might be. What are the services in terms of categories? What are the products? That could be related products to you, upsells, downsells, cross-sells, anything that you might be able to sell your customers, or that they're already buying from someplace else that's related to what you do, or that they're just buying from someplace else, right? Any of those things would be products. Substitute products, complementary products. What are they buying instead? What's the decision they're making to buy when they decide not to buy your product? Just go buy that so you get both sales, right? And then supply and distribution, manufacturer, supplier, could be distribution, website, that kind of thing. So that's, and then, IP. IP is intellectual property, the standard intellectual properties like patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. Could be a customer list that you're buying it for. Could be an email list that you're buying it for. It could be a prospect list, a pixeled list, or software or a SaaS.